Hey folks, welcome back to another episode of BizTalk. We are finally back. We took a little break last week when we had Labor Day, so nobody was working that day for that same reason. But we're excited to be back this week, and we've got a show that is packed with amazing guests, business professionals, business owners that are going to share all of their information as well as some of their expertise in each one of their fields so that we can continue to grow and continue to take our businesses to the next level. If you are a business owner or a business professional and looking for some insights, tips and tricks from those that have been there so that you can continue to grow, this is the place to be. So sit tight, just have a conversation with our guest here, and you are going to learn as well as we are, and we are excited to have this show because we've got a brand new guest on the show, and she's excited to be here, and she's visiting us all the way from Jersey, and that is Miss Abigale Stolfe. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course, it is our pleasure to have you. Thank you for being on the show. We always appreciate business professionals, business owners like yourself that have been in business for quite some time, and you just basically have been there, as I mentioned earlier, you know, the ins and outs, intricacies of your business, and that is what our viewerships, want to know, and they want to learn from us as well. Potentially continue the conversation by contacting us later after the show. So thank you for being on the show. I did have a particular topic that I want to talk to you about because, it's one of those things to where when you start out in business, you really don't know at the very beginning where or how, what's going to navigate you to the right, potential business or line of law in this case for you. But you went into family law,
I did.
and that is something that intrigued me because I think it's a wonderful job that you do in order to be able to help as many families as possible. So, can you take us back to the very beginning of your career in family law? What drew you to this particular field?
I can. So it's funny because there's really three independent segments of my childhood that brought me to law. My grandmother was a police officer, and she would always bring me to municipal court, and she would point to the lawyers and say, "That's what you want to do. That's what you want to do." And my parents were divorced, but maintained such an amicable relationship. We'd have holidays together, we would vacation together. So while they were divorced, and we understood they were divorced, we were not a fractured family. We didn't grow up as a fractured family, which means that custody is a big component of where my practice lies. Then when I was in law school, I decided, well, I better learn if I really want to do family law. So I did a criminal internship down in Florida, and I worked on a terrible, sad case. And I said, no, criminal's not for me. I'm going to family. And I'm so happy I did because I feel like it's where my passion lies and where I really can thrive.
That's fantastic. So it's, the initial, I guess the seed that was planted was, by your family, basically,
Yeah.
giving you that segue there. And then you finding out for yourself, sometimes we do that. We'll go into one field and all of a sudden we realize, what, this is probably not the best line for me. So, but, as I mentioned earlier, our viewers are going to learn from us, right? So in this line of business, family law, what are some of the initial challenges you faced when you started practicing family law?
It's interesting because I worked with a fabulous judge who then I was able from him to transition to an employer who was equally fabulous, both of them gentlemen. And one of the biggest challenges I felt that I faced was being a young female attorney working in complex matrimonial matters. So from the shoot, I worked on complex litigations, I worked on business valuations, I worked on high net worth cases. And, when you're young and you look young and, you don't have kids yet, people look at you and say, how could you possibly understand or know or even relate to my life and what's going on in my case? So the challenge I had was to overcome the perception that I was too young, or because I was female, I wasn't in tune enough with the financial complexities that really we see in the Northeast. People working out of New York, investment bankers, et cetera. There's some high net worth that people didn't really think I could understand.
Yeah, I wonder, When we are faced with that challenge alone, when people look at you and they say, well, how do you have the experience? I mean, it's just basically them judging a book by its cover, right? And
A
never
100%.
100%. And there's never really, they never really take the time to sit down and, understand your angle, your point of view, how you're going to go about things, and basically more than anything, get to know your expertise, right? Because that is what they're hiring for,
Right.
hiring you for. So, in that same, line of, the same question as to how you face some of those, challenges. What are some other, very not so everyday challenges that you say also shaped your way into this family law practice?
Well, I don't know that I would say that there was challenges um, throughout the entering into my world of family law and my family law community here in New Jersey. I think that what really brings you to the table and helps people to understand that you're someone with knowledge and someone who could be trusted is by proving you are someone with knowledge and someone who could be trusted. So to do that, I would work longer hours. I mean, Thanksgiving, I was in my office. The holidays, I was in my office. I studied harder. I would go to nighttime seminars. I would engage in professional associations outside of the field of law that I was in just to make sure that I understood what was happening in the accounting world or what was happening in other professional worlds. Um, and I think also teaching people who I was, right? At that time, I was already a business owner. I had by then owned a restaurant. I was deeply involved in real estate investing. So I already had a lot of insight into the complexities of business ownership um, and complex money transactions that people just didn't know. So I think by teaching my colleagues who I was able to establish that footing within the community that I can be trusted. And that was really important to me that the judges and lawyers trusted me because I felt that that would give the biggest impression to a client.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that because that's kind of like where I was going for. Letting others see exactly who you are and what you are able to do. So earlier this morning, I published an article about being authentic in your line of business. And when you are out either in a networking event or whatnot, it's about authenticity. And when people see that, they start seeing you at a different level. They start seeing you as the true professional that you are, and all of the expertise that you bring to the table. So thank you for pointing that out and bringing that up. So my next question for you is something that you related to a little while ago in complex places and complex cases in family law. How did your early experiences, shape the outcome of, your practice?
By creating those foundational relationships within my community, and by my community, I mean my legal community, uh,
Okay.
it helped me to shape the relationships within my social community and within the town that I lived and practiced. So I think that what ultimately happened to my benefit and something I'm quite grateful for is that the complex cases became uh, less challenging because I wasn't also trying to sell myself, right?
Okay.
To your point of being authentic, I was not only authentic with what I knew, I was quite authentic with what I did not know. And I would take the time to ask professionals for help and for guidance and for where I could go to learn it so that I could advocate the best I could for my client.
If you only knew how many times I come across people not being authentic enough by not being honest in what they don't know, rather than, just being completely honest, being authentic is like saying, you know what, let me get back with you on that. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. It actually makes you look like a true professional when you actually acknowledge that you're missing that piece of information, but it's you're going to get to the bottom of it, and that is what gives your clients that reassurance, right? So
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it tells people not only will I tell you in this instance, but going forward, I will always make sure that I'm giving you the best advice I can give you whether it's information I know now or have to figure out later.
Yeah. It's every time that I talk to my clients, you know, the one things that I tell them that they're going to get from me is three things: open, honest, and transparent conversations. Because I believe that's the only way to move forward and carry a conversation forward, especially when you are talking about bringing some clients on board and, you know, getting them to trust with what you have to bring to the table. So that is pretty amazing. Abigail, this is the time where we're almost at the very end of our first segment here, and this is the time our viewers are going to want to know how to get a hold of Abigale Stolfe to continue that conversation, learn a little bit more from you, and or potentially even hire you for your services. So how can we get in touch with you?
Great. No, and I appreciate that. I would love for people to visit our website. They will get to know who I am. That's jerseycoastfamilylaw.com. It tells my story. It tells the story of my firm. It tells the story of my professionals, and it tells you our vision and how I think we can help you, if we can help you. You could also, of course, call the number 732-361-4718 and obviously schedule an appointment. But I think visiting the website is a good starting point. It'll really show what we intend to bring to the table to make sure that what we can do meets your agenda and your goals.
All right. Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you
All of
for
our
having
viewers,
me.
all of our viewers are going to benefit from that, and they're going to be visiting your website and potentially getting a hold of you. So that's one of the reasons for this platform here. So we want to thank you so much for being on the show. We appreciate you, and I know that we've got some upcoming shows that we're going to do together, and I'm looking forward to that because we're just going to carry that conversation forward to continue to be of service to all of our viewers. So thank you so much for being on the show. We appreciate you. And folks, we have come to the close of this segment. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. Stay right there.